And Facebook Live people. Hi, friends. Hi, friends. Joette Calabrese here. For those of you who don't know me, for those who do, welcome, dear friends. You know, it's getting to be, now this is our lifestyle, apparently, that our friends are all virtual. And so this is what we're doing for now, and I'm hoping things are going to change, but who knows? We just don't know that. So I'm looking forward to talking to you about a few things tonight. And we meet, just in case, for those of you who are new, we meet every Monday night. We've been doing this for, 2 years now, Perry? A little over 2 years. And we usually go over my Materia Medica, which is right here. We go through the medicines. And tonight we are in the L's. Pardon me? I don't know. Can you all hear me? Just let me know if you can hear me, folks. So, but I also want to tell you that I want to give you a heads up that I'm relaunching my pain course. It's a course that I put together a year and a half or so ago, and it's all about pain and how to deal with pain homeopathically. The title of the course, I have to read it because I never remember this title. The title of the course is Make It Stop, Escape from the Prison of Chronic and Acute Pain Using Practical Homeopathy. Learn effective methods to uproot pain, often for good. So it's all kinds of pains, not so much gastrointestinal because I cover that so thoroughly, and not only my course Good Gut, Bad Gut, but also in the blog. So, but you know, it's headache pains and neuralgia and neuropathy and arthritis, etc., etc. So it's a course that that we had a very good response to, and now it won't be live, but what's nice about it is that you can take it at your own pace. So should you be interested, and I want to remind my Mighties, anyone who's a Joette's Mighty member gets a 10% discount. So that's kind of a nice thing to have. And in this pain course, I'm not going to be talking about mental or emotional pain. It is physical pain. Because right now our world, our country is in a lot of turmoil. The chaos is very frustrating. And I just want to say, for those folks who are new, I want you to pay attention, because the way that I think and the way most of my followers think is a little different. And what I mean by that is, if you believe that you should be taking your children to baby checkups to find out if your child is well, or your baby is well, if you believe that you need a mammogram because you've gotten to a certain age, if you believe that colonoscopies are for all people over the age of 50 and they should be done yearly, and that by doing so it makes one responsible or educated or noble, then you're probably not in the right place. Because my philosophy, and most homeopaths' philosophy, is that we can do this homeopathically, and that medicine is superfluous at best, often dangerous. Not always, it's not always, but those routine tests, routine injections, routine anything is not for people who think outside the box, because we are not routine. We think on our own. We make our own decisions. And if that fits who you are, and that you know that you will go deeper and look into how to treat yourself and your family in spite of the world that we live in, if you don't have fear because of your knowledge in homeopathy and your common sense abilities, then you're on the right page. We're on Facebook together, we're on Mighties together, and there's always more to come. I love sharing this way of thinking. I've been thinking this way with GSM, guts, spunk, and moxie. And if you don't have those bones of GSM flexed, your muscles are not flexed for that kind of thinking, let me entreat you to understand that It's just a matter of practice. It's a skill set learned. You can learn how to have gut, spunk, and moxie. You can learn how to think for yourself. You can learn how to eschew the experts. You are the expert. You know your body. You know your husband's body. You know your children's bodies. You know your parents' bodies. If you don't have a human nuclear family, then you know your dog. You know your cat. You know your livestock. You know you are the expert. If you're not familiar with Dr. Robert Mendelsohn, who wrote the book, How to Raise a Healthy Child in Spite of Your Doctor, do get that book. Whether you have children or not, buy that book. Now, it's old. It's been around a long time. You can probably buy it for about $1. And don't go to the chapter that suits you. Read the whole book from cover to cover. Dr. Robert Mendelsohn, spelled exactly like my favorite composer. Franny and Felix Mendelssohn, brother and sister. So anyway, I'm digressing, and I don't mean to do that because we don't always have that much time, and I do want to get to what's really important here. So for those of you who are interested in my pain course, just go to my website, joettecalabrese.com, and simply look at, it'll show you right up there on the front page, and just click on it, and there's plenty of information for you to learn from. And then for those who are interested, some people ask me, what about, how do I become one of Joette's Mighty members and what's involved? Just go to my blog again, my site again, joettecalabrese.com, and check out Mighty Members. I've got lots and lots of information, folks, and it's for you and for your family. So let's just see, just me and the dogs. Laugh out loud, says Neely. You bet, that's your family, absolutely. All righty. So let's see who's here tonight from Facebook Live. Homeopathy is so empowering, says Tanya. And thank you for being the cord that has enabled us to plug into it. You bet. I love doing this. This is, you're my friends. And it feels really good. Homeopathy changed my life as a mom 8 years ago. Someone else said I just missed her name. It's scrolling so quickly. Homeopathy. Okay. Fabulous book. Yes, it's good. Amazing that he said this so long ago, but it's applicable today. It will be applicable forever. Dr. Robert Mendelsohn. You can actually find him on YouTube. He passed away years ago, but he did a lot of television programs back in the day. All righty. So let's get started. Tonight, we're going to be talking about a medicine. We're in the L's, as I said, in the Materia Medica. Here is where we are. We're going to be talking about Lycopodium, and it's kind of fun because if you think in terms of Spanish, think of hinchado. Hinchado. Do you know what hinchado means? Or if an Italian word, it's bonfio. Bonfio. It means, I'm giving it to you in other languages because I think it makes it more interesting and perhaps will stick and help you a little bit better. This medicine, Lycopodium clavatum, is very specific for hinchado and gonfio, and it is for bloating. Lycopodium for bloating. Now, bloating in a couple of different ways. We're going to stretch it a tiny bit, but generally speaking, let's start with the GI system and bloating with it in the GI system. This is for someone who eats and then shortly after, or maybe not even shortly after, it can be hours later, but they feel as though they've swallowed a beach ball, like they've eaten too much. It feels like there's pressure. Some people describe it as weight. Other people describe it as a rock. Others say it's like a beach ball. So there's pressure in the belly, in the stomach. And sometimes there is indigestion. So not always, but sometimes there's also indigestion. So that's kind of GERD and a repeat of the food. And it's an interesting medicine if we look at it from a psychological point of view, although I don't put a lot of weight on that. I know classicals do that, but I don't. I look at what is the main condition. We're not going to use this just because someone happens to have some bloating. We're going to use Lycopodium 200C, I'm talking about at this point, for when it is someone who has suffering with the bloating. Food intolerances could be part of this. But also from the psychological aspect, there is sometimes a bloated personality, meaning the person is kind of full of themselves in a way, but it's kind of a false fullness of themselves because there's an essential sense of insecurity. It's more often a medicine for men and boys, but women can be profited by it as well. But there's a compensation in the personality, and there is such a keen connection between the brain and the stomach or the gut that it is very unusual that we might see someone who has a gut problem that doesn't have a psychological aspect to it. So in this medicine, we see insecurity and maybe overcompensation and maybe acting oddly to make up for the fact that they feel so insecure. But if they have that and the bloating and also even food intolerances, we've got a dead ringer for Lycopodium 200. How do we use it? I'm going to give it to you exactly. I'm the only one who does this. I hope you understand that. I know other people are looking for other homeopaths to give exact protocols, the condition, the name of the remedy, the potency, and the frequency. I'm the only one that I know of who does this, besides the Banerjees. But I'm the one who's teaching this in the US. I've gotten everything I've learned from them and trying to get it out to folks as quickly and as thoroughly as I possibly can before the end of my days. It could take some time. There's a lot of information. But meanwhile, you can get very far with it. So going back, Lycopodium, 200, twice a day, about 12 hours apart, a little less than that maybe, twice a day, every day, until there is dramatic shift. Sometimes we see a dramatic shift in a few weeks. Sometimes we see a shift in 8 weeks. Sometimes we see a little shift in 8 weeks, but the person says, I'm still not there. The bloating is still there. It's much reduced. I can eat more, a few more foods that I wasn't able to previously. I'm feeling a little more comfortable in myself, in my skin. But I'm not done. Then you keep going with it. Don't end at 8 weeks just because there's some improvement. Keep going. Lycopodium 200C, twice daily, every day. Now, sometimes we also see this strange aspect of this where someone feels foggy. Their brain is not clear. I've had it described to me in a number of different ways. One young man described it as a dreamy sensation, and he hated it. He couldn't concentrate on his schoolwork. He had a very hard time feeling normal. No one else around him knew what was going on. You couldn't tell. I certainly couldn't tell. His parents couldn't tell. Well, maybe his mom did, but those around him generally did not see that there was something off. But he suffered horribly from it. It said he felt as though he was in a dream, and it was especially worse after he ate offending foods such as pizza. Another person has described it to me as I just can't think straight. I just don't feel like myself. I'm not thinking correctly. I'm not on top of my game. Others have described it as kind of a slowness of the thinking. So now, does this have to be there? It does not need to be there. Just because I'm giving you these keynotes, that's what these are called, keynotes, which are the main characteristics of a particular medicine, doesn't mean it has to fit absolutely this person has to fit absolutely every one of these. Yes, husband woke up last night with extreme bloated pain, 1 dose, all good. Wow, exclamation point, says Kay. No doubt, absolutely. Okay, now someone else wrote in. Mary said, my swollen ankle, she said in one of my mighty members, we're going to stretch this a little bit. Remember I said Lycopodium is for bloating? It's also for edema. Edema. Not edema from let's say, an infection. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about edema of, say, the ankles. Edema of the hands. Sometimes people get edema in their hands from having eaten a food that they're reacting to. Now, edema is kind of boggy sometimes. It can be squishy. The ankles can be squishy and boggy. And in that case, we use Lycopodium again. Okay, now we're using it in a 30th potency. Lycopodium 30, twice daily, every day. I've seen people get off of their medications for this. That usually takes a little bit longer. Let's just see what else we've got here. Edema, it's an excellent one for edema. Now, I don't see it for edema around the eyes for an allergic reaction. I don't see it that way. That's another medicine. It's not this one. But when we see it around joints, around fingers and hands and ankles, and sometimes even knees. All right. And let's see what we've got here. Hi, Michelle. Lymphedema. Thank you, Michelle. My friend, Michelle. It's also for lymphedema. So the edema that is associated with at the lymph nodes, especially after someone has had surgery, breast surgery, that can be incredible for lymphedema. And all right, really, are you prescription free now? I'm replying to Ashley. Okay. I figured good allergy was separate from asthma and skin, so it's blowing my mind that they're all linked, but of course they are. You bet they are. Absolutely, Ashley. Used this last week, said Tim. My stomach flattened out, pain eased, gas disappeared in a matter of minutes. Gas too. Yes, gas too. It's not just the bloating. It can be incarcerated bloating, incarcerated gas, or it can be releasing gas. Absolutely. And use this last week. Okay, thanks, Tim. And how do kids take it? Kids take it in the same way that adults take it. Goats take it the same way. Chickens take it the same way. Camels, llamas, cows. You bet. Someone here, it sounds to me like you have taken my course because you know about Lyco-Rs mixed together, which is a Banerjee protocol. I think of Lyco-Rs also, but I like to teach this separately first, and also to lead you to understand that Lycopodium 200 can do great work when you mix it with arsenicum. It's often with a little more burning involved, but we're not talking about burning. Edema of ankles, Francine asks, from unknown causes. Yeah, do we need to know the cause? We need to know the cause. Is flatulence linked to liver problems? I have lots of gas. Yeah, it could be liver problems, but this is a medicine for gas. So people ask me, would this work for me? And I always say, I'm teaching, you decide. That's what I want you to do. I will give you every clue. I do the same thing on my blog when people ask questions. What is the medicine for my thus and so? And when it's coming from a specific blog, I'm very clear. I say, read the article, make sure you understand, read the medicine again in a Materia Medica. If you've got my Materia Medica, if you use another Materia Medica, whichever one you use. If you don't have my Materia Medica and you'd like one, by all means, just contact my office either through email or phone calls. And let's see. Okay. Let me just see if I've got any more questions. Yes. Even woke up last night with extreme pain. Okay, it helped my husband during a gallbladder attack. Yes, Lycopodium is interesting because it is related to the gallbladder. Now, I have other medicines that I use specifically for the gallbladder, but Lycopodium is excellent for the gallbladder as well. And we want to keep that gallbladder, don't we? We don't want anyone to take it from us. All right. And Kathy Diaz, hi, Kathy, says, I had flu-like symptoms this past week, and the Banerjee protocol served me very well, ! 1 week later, I'm feeling great. Thanks to you. I was prepared and not scared. That's it. Be prepared, not scared. That's it. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of any of this. Don't be afraid. Just learn. Use all of my information. It's free. If you want to go delve further, then take my courses. If you want to go further, also with the groups, join my study groups. We've got great groups. Many of these names that I'm reading here are in the study groups or run my study groups. It's very inexpensive, and you will meet like-minded people. All righty. Let's see what else we've got here on Facebook. Okay, smallpox outbreak. I can't do this tonight. I have to stay with what I've agreed to, but I do cover smallpox in my course. title. It's a guide called, wait, hold on, let me just look at this for a second. Called Survivalist Guide to Homeopathy. I just saw something else that was really interesting. Hold on. Okay, I've taken a bit of Lycopodium in the past, and it was very helpful for pain in the back, possibly kidney stones, or for other gastric issues. That's in it. That's why I want to approach this. It is very interesting that many times gut issues actually are felt in the back, often between the shoulder blades. So watch for that. It feels like it has something to do with muscles, but it can often be gut related. Let's see what else we have. So it's only for other issues. Yes, it can be. My husband could use Lycopodium, truly, though. I think so. Lycopodium is great for men. It's great for men. You always use Lyco-Rs for bloating. You don't always use a Lyco-Rs for bloating. Lycopodium 200. I in my good gut, bad gut course, I emphasize Lycopodium with arsenicum a good amount. But I'm finding that a lot of times arsenicum mixed in it can be superfluous. And I'd rather stick a little bit more closely with Lyco-Rs having to do with more with burning or indigestion, whereas Lycopodium is more for the bloating and gas. All of these issues can be addressed at the same time. I highly recommend taking Joette's Good Gut, Bad Gut course. Yes, thank you for saying that. Ashley, yes. Yes, foggy brain, Marie. Now, we're not going to say this is for foggy brain. This is for the guts, especially if there's bloating, food intolerances associated with foggy brain. Or even if there's not a lot of bloating, maybe there's just gas and foggy brain. We want this to be somewhat associated with the gut in order to consider it for a foggy brain. Was fighting intestinal yeast, bloating, bad, Lycopodium, bad, and Lycopodium helped. You bet. You see, you're looking at intestinal yeast. We don't need to know which microorganism it is. We want to know the symptoms. What are the symptoms? Oh, bloating are the symptoms. That's the symptom. Now we got something. If you have to identify that it's yeast, you've gone too far. We don't need to know what microorganism it is. We know how it presents. Like, let's see, lymphedema, thank you very much. Like MSG, I don't understand the question. I'm sorry, Susan. Okay, really, are you, okay. I think what's happening is some folks are communicating amongst themselves and I'm missing that. All righty, let's see what else we've got here. Yes, and all these issues overlap. And edema around the eyes. Yes, apis, you're right. That's right, Monica. Can it help chronic diarrhea? It's not my first choice for diarrhea, but it can if there are these keynotes that I've just described to you. If there's bloating and food intolerance, and if there happens to also to be foggy brain, and all of this seems to kind of fit, then yes, it could indeed. Acid reflux with bloating. Yes, acid reflux is in many ways another word for indigestion. Could this be beneficial for colic in a horse? It could, because we do worry about bloating in horses. It can kill a horse. It can kill a dog, this bloating, when it's very severe. So by all means, remember this for animals. Lycopodium for skin issues. Yes, it could potentially help skin issues if there are GI symptoms. Edema during pregnancy or not. Edema during pregnancy when we're using the edema protocol. And you know the difference now, right? We would not use 200. We would use the lower potency for edema. And it's Lycopodium your first choice for gas and bloating. Carbo-veg, I love Carbo-veg. That's would be perhaps my second choice. Nux vomica could also be, but yes, Carbo-veg is excellent. All right. Actually never took a prescription. However, I saw results quickly, stayed on it for 8 weeks. It's a protocol. All righty. Gallbladder. Gallbladder pain, belladonna. You're absolutely right, Carol. It can be very useful. I used Banerjee's protocol for Lycopodium and sulfur for my appendicitis and avoided surgery. Monica, you are absolutely right. I learned about using Lycopodium for appendicitis some 30 years ago. I don't know where I learned it. It was, I don't know if I just gleaned it on my own. A colleague shared it with me. I read it in a book. It was something I took in one of my courses. But yes, absolutely. There are other medicines too, and I go into them more thoroughly in my Good Gut, Bad Gut course and also in my Survivalist Guide. But I will tell you that Lycopodium has saved many a person from surgery with an appendicitis. I'm trying to decide between good gut, bad gut, and the allergy class. My whole family has food intolerances, but also react to everything environmentally. Can't decide where to start. Let me just give you this word, Jen. Start with good gut, bad gut. It will seamlessly move into allergic at a later date should you decide to do so. Where can I find all of this information? Well, you will find this information on my blog. You'll find it in my courses. My specific courses, you'll find all of this information, a good amount of it also in my study groups, which is Gateway to Homeopathy 1 and Gateway to Homeopathy 2. And you would love those groups. The study groups are so fun and wonderful for educational discussions. I highly recommend them, says Marie. Thank you, Marie. Okay, but I don't know how chickens and goats take it. I'm new here. Should I dissolve it? My daughter couldn't hold pellets in her mouth. You don't have to hold the pellets in your mouth. Do not hold the pellets in your mouth. Chew them. Let your daughter chew them, and with a clean mouth. Don't worry about putting it under the tongue. If something is really serious and you're really in trouble and you need to get every aspect of those pills, then okay, put it under the tongue and just hold them there. But to be honest, it's very hard to keep from chewing those pills. Even adults, don't worry about it. Let them chew away. Just make sure it's a clean mouth. By clean, I mean no food in it. And having said that, I used to give homeopathic medicines to my father in his soup, and they still worked. So it can even work that way too. All right. My hubby and I just started Good Gut, Bad Gut. I love it, Marie, when husband and wives do this together. This is how we're going to protect ourselves from government mandates, folks. This is how we're going to protect ourselves from someone deciding what we wear on our faces, how far we stand away from people, whether or not we can have Thanksgiving with family, whether or not we can go out to dinner with our entire family or only up to 6 people. This is going to protect us. This is the way you keep yourself from being uninfluenced from these kinds of ridiculous mandates. I'm in New York State right now because this is where my children, my brother, my family, my cousins are, and I want to spend Thanksgiving with them and Christmas and New Year's and spend some nice autumn and winter time with them. And coming from Florida, I got to tell you, this state is nuts. Nuts. And it comes from the top, if you could call that a top, down. It's ridiculous. I'm seeing young people on the street with the wind blowing and so beautiful and the sunshine and it's autumn and the leaves are fluffing all around their feet instead of getting all the fresh air. Young people walking down the street with a muzzle on. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. And so with that, my dear friends, I've never followed the COVID rules. Do you have to take the gateway courses in order to take the pain course? No, not at all. Absolutely. Dive right into the pain course. I love that course. It was very beneficial for my family and me. Thank you for saying, Marie. Yes, Paulette. Thank you. If you love my thinking, Paulette, that means I love your thinking. Francine says, so happy to have found homeopathy and being in charge of my own health care. Yes, great course. Thumbs up. Absolutely. God bless all of you. Till next week. Remember your Lycopodium. God bless you all. Have a great week and happy Thanksgiving.